House of EdTech, Episode 64. This episode of the House of EdTech is brought to you by SummerPD.com. From the mind of Nate Nagel, are you a passionate educator looking to engage and empower your students with the help of technology? Does traditional PD leave you underwhelmed? Check out SummerPD.com. SummerPD.com offers you a 10-week at-your-own-pace program that explores educational technologies like Google Classroom and apps, formative assessments, flipped classroom methods, and many more. Take advantage of their summer bundle, which is a limited time promotion, and you can get all 10 courses for $25 by using the promo code House of EdTech. By purchasing, you gain 24/7, 365-day access to the courses for professional development on your schedule. Go to SummerPD.com, use promo code House of EdTech, and sign up today. So if you are a long-time listener, then you know that something is missing. And if you're a first-time listener, well, let me tell you, something is missing. I am not using the intro for this episode because I am in an alternate House of EdTech studio. I'm pretty close to the actual House of EdTech, except I'm under it. That's right. Well, not that you could have guessed it. I am recording this episode of the House of EdTech in my garage because the House of EdTech remodel is in full swing. And today, was it today? It's been a long summer vacation already, folks. Yesterday, I had to shut off the computer and finally move my desk, which was the only thing that was really in the room. And it was kind of holding up progress of me remodeling the studio room that I have here in my house that I share with my wife, Caitlin. And it just got to the point where I had to shut the computer off and move the desk. So the room that I normally record in and the computer, it's all disconnected. So I am using a MacBook Pro 13-inch from a couple years ago that used to be my wife's. I'm recording this on the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. I'm recording directly into Audacity, and I will be processing this probably not even with the normal filters and stuff that I use to process the audio. So this episode will sound, or I'm sure it does sound, a little bit different to you. But I didn't want to leave you hanging and everybody else who counts on the House of EdTech to be there every 2 weeks. So in this episode, I do have, of course, an EdTech thought. I also have an EdTech recommendation, and of course the House of EdTech VIP, which are the usual segments. And I do have some featured content for this episode as well, and I'm going to be sharing with you a conversation that I recently had with Jill Dobrowansky, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Wall Township Public Schools. Now, full disclosure, I did not have this conversation with Jill specifically for this episode of the podcast. I had the conversation with Jill on June 21st, 2016, and she was kind enough to participate in hashtag ShiftEd, which, if you're not familiar with ShiftEd, it is a live call-in show that I do with the Ed Justice League, Stacy and AJ and Adam and Danny and sometimes Chrissy, who we wanted to do something different and have a different type of conversation. So we use the power of blab.im to do a live call-in show, and we do this every 2 weeks. Currently, we are off for the summer. There may be a July session and an August session, but I know we'll definitely be back up and running in September every 2 weeks, having those conversations. But the conversation that I had with Jill a couple of weeks ago, back in June, was a really good conversation, and I think is very relevant to how we learn here in the summer. And not to really date this episode and say, oh, well, if you happen to be listening to it in the winter, that it's not applicable. It still is. And it's just something to think about, if it's the middle of winter, think about what you can be doing to learn and grow as an educator. And if you're in the summer here in 2016 or a future summer, because we can't go back in time, not that I'm aware of, the content is still relevant, and you can definitely pull out some great nuggets from things and comments that I passed, and also some things that Jill brought to the table. And again, I do thank Jill for taking time to do that. since I am here in the alternate studio, I've got a lot of great feedback from episode 63. So for those of you that sent in feedback, whether it was audio, emails, messages on Voxer, let me, in this episode, thank you for sending in that feedback. And I will be sharing it hopefully in the next episode if I can get the studio put back together. So thank you in advance for that. And if you want to send in feedback, you can use Twitter. I'm at Mr. Nessie. Just use the hashtag House of EdTech so I see those tweets. I have a nice little column set up in TweetDeck, as you may be familiar with. And you can also Vox me. I am Mr. Nessie, MRNESI, on Voxer. And this is an audio podcast, so I love to get audio feedback. And it's always really, really surprising and kind of like Christmas morning when I see somebody has sent me a message and I know the name, but I've never spoken to you. So I got a couple of those in the last few days, and I really appreciate that. You can also do it the old-fashioned way, and you can actually call the House of EdTech hotline. That number is 732-903-4869. And of course, I do want to give a shout out to my supporters on Patreon, Peggy George, Mark Grindell, Jeff Herb. Belated happy birthday to Jeff Herb. Thank you so much for contributing to the show. And of course, my good friend Dan Gallagher, who is always contributing something cool, whether it's recommendations or nice emails. And without their support, a lot of what I do here on the podcast wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to become an awesome supporter, you can go to chrisnessie.com/awesome, and you can learn how you can do a little bit more if you appreciate what I do here on the podcast. That's enough blabbering out of me. Let's, see, that's silly because I'm going to continue to blab, and I don't even think I'm going to be using transition. So this episode, other than my conversation with Jill, is going to be one long monologue. So this really is a different episode. So I will make one of my finer transitions over to my EdTech thought. And this EdTech thought I'm calling summer learning. And really, again, it doesn't really matter when you're listening to this. This is great anytime learning, anytime PD. And I want to encourage you, and I've done this before, I really want to encourage you to attend a conference. Not sign up for every conference, not make a trek to conferences that are far away and out of your budget and are going to break the bank and put you in financial hardship. It can be as simple as going to EdCamp, maybe a Teach Meet, maybe just a local meetup of teachers. If you try to set something up on meetup.com, be proactive in your learning. There are any number of conference opportunities for everybody during the summer. Now, maybe you work, maybe you have kids, maybe you have travel plans, but I think it's our responsibility as educators to continue to learn, grow, and develop, and really, communicate, collaborate with other like-minded professionals, and even learn from people who we may not necessarily agree with. It's just important that we continue to learn and grow. And maybe that's using Twitter more in the summer. Maybe it's starting a new hashtag. Maybe it's starting a new conversation. Maybe you go to Blab or any number of video conferencing websites and you meet up with people and you just basically talk shop. But the real point is try to get to a conference in something that's a little bit more organized, but obviously do what you can within your means. And if there is a cost, and I've said many times, free is my favorite 4-letter F word, and I try to give all free recommendations, but there are some things that do cost money, and you can pay for things with time or you can pay with things with money. Don't look at the cost to attend a conference as an expense, but rather turn that around, remold it, and look at it more as an investment, and an investment in yourself for that matter. I kind of dropped the ball in terms of being able to save money and raise the funds necessary to go to ISTE, because I had a really great time when it was in Philadelphia and I could drive there. That was great. But now I have my eyes set on San Antonio in the summer of 2017. I looked a little bit at the hashtag, but I'll be honest with you, I was kind of bummed that I wasn't there because I met so many great people and I consider myself to be an above average connected educator. And I feel like I need to be in the places where technology is so I can have conversations that I can bring to you and even just learn for myself. yes, I'm a little bit selfish. I want to learn first. And, what I do here on the podcast, I'm sharing with you. And I'm kind of giving you a behind the scenes tour of my own learning. I mean, every guest I have on the show, I learn from. You just get the lucky benefit of being able to listen in on the conversation. So, I mean, that's my EdTech thought for this episode. Actually, before I transition, I'd be a fool if I didn't recommend where you can go to find great summer learning opportunities, or really learning opportunities at any time. And that would be theeducal.com. And that's the education calendar, a crowdsourced website and calendar for where learning is taking place. Whether it's ed camps or other types of conferences, the EduCal has it all. So big props and shout out to Adam Schoenbart and Danny Kennis, who are the creators of the education calendar. And you can find out what's going on in your neck of the woods by going to theeducal.com, theeducal.com. And maybe if conferences aren't your thing, again, let's go back to the top of the show. This episode's sponsor, summerpd.com. Nate Nagel, Courtney Colfelt, they've designed awesome courses that you can take at your own pace. It doesn't even have to be summer when you're doing it. PD happens at any time. Check out summerpd.com. Super cool shout out to them again. They have 10 courses. Actually, I think it's more than 10, but they have a package where you can get 10 courses for $35. If you use the promo code House of EdTech, you can get those same 10 courses for $25, and you have 24/7 access to those courses. And they have some great courses in Google Classroom, Google Apps for Education, some flipped learning video courses on how to kind of bring that into your classroom. So that's something I would also recommend that you take advantage of. And that altogether is my EdTech thought. And now as we move along in this monologue, and I have some highly detailed notes here that I'm looking at. So this episode's EdTech recommendation. Again, I like to do this in the summer. I believe last year I recommended some movies that I would recommend that you watch over the summer. I either did that in an episode or I did that as a blog post. But here, I'm going to recommend that you go check out kidsbowlfree.com. That's right. I want you to go bowling. I've been on summer vacation for a week, and I have gone bowling every day with Miles, my awesome 4-year-old son. I would take Colton, but he is only 10 months, and he is not much bigger than a bowling ball. But Miles and I are having a blast. Every day after nap, we go to our local bowling alley, and I signed up. He bowls for free, 2 games every day, and that would be plus a shoe rental, except that I bought him bowling shoes. So I'm saving $5, and I get to bowl too, because I had the option I think it was either $28 or $29. Let me add 4 adults to this whole experience. So I added myself, Caitlin, and my parents, and we, the 4 of us, or just one of us, can take him bowling, and we also get to bowl 2 games with him. And it's great. He gets a 6-pound ball. He's excited. He, as a 4-year-old, it's computerized scoring, so I let him type the names in, so he's learning letters. It's a whole great experience. And if you're a parent of a 14 or under child, this could take you an hour. This could take 2 hours. I love Miles. This is a great way to kill an hour and a half to 2 hours of my summer day. And it's air conditioned. So if the weather is crummy, and it rained a couple days ago, we went bowling. It was awesome. We are having a great time. After 1 week, so he's been bowling 2 games a day for 5 days, his high score was a 67. Sometimes he knocks down 1 pin, he's got the bumpers up, but he's having a great time, and that's the bottom line. So if you have kids that are 14 and under, sign them up, take them, enjoy, bond with your kids, and this might teach you something that summer PD or going to a conference, you're not going to get that family time at a conference. So yeah, kidsbowlfree.com. That's my EdTech recommendation. Go bowling. And if you sign up, let me know. And maybe we can compare high scores. And I figure this is through, and I don't mean to ramble. So I talk with my hands. I'm doing all this Italian stuff. This is just a very raw episode. 2 games a day. I should be a better bowler after, 10 weeks of bowling. This was basically from the middle of June and it's through the middle of August. I think August 15th or August 17th. So it is not too late to sign up. And it seems like they've been doing this for a couple of years. So if you're listening to this outside of the summer of 2016, maybe the next summer is coming. Check out kidsbowlfree.com and, when the time is right, when it's summer, you might have a great time doing this with your kids. So that's my EdTech recommendation. kidsbowlfree.com. And now for this episode's featured content, we're going to go to the audio tape, so to speak. And here is my conversation from June 21st on Shift Ed, my conversation with Jill Dobrowansky. Jill, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am not as good as you because you're in someplace nice and I'm someplace that I have to put back together, as you can see.
Yeah, well, I have one of those rooms also in my house tonight, so.
So what's going on tonight, Jill?
Not much. I just kind of wanted to jump in and say, hey, all about summer learning. That is the busiest time for my department. And, we are gearing up to write curriculum, run summer programs, and also get geared up for September already. We have started planning for new teacher orientation. We're starting planning for the couple of days back for teachers. And in addition to that, our district is engaging in something new next year for a professional learning academy in which teachers can earn hours that they can then apply to the February PD day in order to, increase their learning and provide them with an opportunity to engage with their colleagues and, really try to test the boundaries and try something new.
Now, let me share a story and let me know how it works where you are. In most districts, and we can speak because we both work in New Jersey. I'm not really sure what happens in other states, but as a New Jersey teacher, I was required to create a PDP or professional development plan for next year, which kind of states 3 goals that I'd like to focus on so I can grow as an educator. This year was different for me, and I don't know if this is a statewide initiative, but in the past, I was given 2 goals and had the opportunity to create one for myself. One was a district goal, one was a building goal, and then the other was left up to me. This year, all 3 goals were my choice. There was nothing, mandated. So is that something that is a statewide thing, or is that something your district also does?
Well, what we do is that we have either one or let me take that back. We typically have 2 goals for every teacher that is building based. And then from there, the teachers can then set a personal professional goal or 2 based upon what they want to do. This year is a bit different because we've switched our platform, of which we use for the teacher evaluation system, which also manages our professional development and all of that. And so a new addition that they've added is the ability to push out goals. And so that's something new that we're going to be trying this year. For the upcoming year, that, is something different and something new. So teachers can either accept them or decide that, they want to do something different altogether. And so, we're in flux with that right now. And, really working towards giving teachers the flexibility and the opportunity to really set goals that are a lot more personal to themselves.
And I think one of the best parts about that is it gives teachers the control that they say that they want. I guess it would remain to be seen how the variety and amount of teachers, how they take advantage of that and what types of professional development they get from what you provide, and also Oh, actually, you know what? I just got fooled because I thought you were actually outside, and now I see a ghost reflection. I thought you were out on the deck. I didn't realize the blinds were open.
Not on the deck yet.
Okay, I thought it was like a porch party. I don't even know what I'm doing. Shift ed. Anyway, back to my I don't even know what I was saying. It's been a long day. It's the end of the school year. That's my. I'll come at you with a different question. What are you and you're a director of curriculum and instruction, so a higher up, as we like to say at the bottom. What are you and how are you learning this summer as an administrator?
Well, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. Like most administrators, I have a pile of books that I want to get through this summer. And also, I am engaging my supervisors in different types of learning and really trying to collect a database of resources that teachers can then access throughout the year so that we can really engage teachers in learning throughout the year. So in order to do that, we feel that it's important for us to be the model for that. And so we're doing a lot of that. We're doing a couple Google Classrooms with book studies to try to engage teachers over the summer and also administrators. And, you know, just things of that nature. We're looking at trying to continue and expand our Twitter chat that we just started this year over the summer to see how many teachers would possibly engage in that. And we're also starting to investigate and study doing our own type of podcast next year.
Yeah, do that one. All right. Wait, hold on. For that, you get sound. Now, you said a whole bunch of things, and I have a whole lot of questions for you. So I'll start with the first question. What book are you most excited to read out of your administrative pile?
Actually, if you don't mind for a minute, I'll reach over and grab it.
Sure, go ahead.
This is the first one that I'm really excited about reading, and this came to me from part of your league, and it's all about, you know, using doodling and note-taking to just kind of think differently. So I've started conversations with teachers about, you know, sketch note-taking and how to have purposeful doodling in, you know, for lack of a better word, and to give students an opportunity to explore their note-taking skills much, much differently. And then the other book, hold on 1 minute.
Well, while she grabs that book, the book she held up, and hopefully she'll hold it up again so I can say the title out loud.
The Doodle Revolution.
The Doodle Revolution by
SUNY Brown.
SUNY Brown, okay. And I assume that Stacy Lindis made that recommendation to you?
Very much so.
Awesome. Good for her. Great for you.
Yes. And then the other one I'm looking at is we're going to be looking at creating robust vocabulary. And this is by Beck, McGowan, and Kukin. And so it's all about kind of bringing vocabulary to life with students. And how can we create a vocabulary-rich environment in which we're teaching vocabulary not in isolation. We're teaching it embedded within the whole day and not just the, you know, here's your 5 words for the week, but really as a whole school coming together and celebrating and, you know, learning different words that can enrich students' lives.
Now, with the vocabulary, the way you just described it, would you say that is that a part of sheltered instruction, or does that take something like sheltered instruction to another level?
It's almost like taking sheltered instruction and kind of blowing the shelter out. It's really about embedding it within the environment and the culture of the school. So one of the other books that we've read this year is Vocabularians. And that really is about how a school can come together and celebrate vocabulary and engage in different words that they've never used, and then apply those words not only within their isolated writing, but also within their vernacular.
Excellent. I was just starring another live binder link that Peggy George has shared. And excellent. And thank you, Peggy, for posting links to all the different books. And Susan is sharing in the chat that she is surviving on her Twitter chats, such as BFC 530, Sat Chat, Sun Chat. I'm sorry you can't hear us. That makes me sad. Everybody should hear the sound of my voice. And actually, I know with Sat Chat, you get the Sat Chat hack for the summer with Ross Cooper and Jenny Graybeck.
Yes.
One Sat Chat hack for the summer. One time I upset them because I was like, why don't we just run Sat Chat all the time? Like, why do we have to add more letters to the hashtag? And they didn't like it when I questioned the whole hack concept. So that's my story on that.
Are you sticking to it?
Yeah, I'm sticking to that. Can't we just call it Sat Chat every Saturday, and whoever's running it, just use the hashtag?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to take that up with Brad.
One day I might. Any conferences you'll be attending? Any traveling for learning?
Over the summer, not really, only because my department is so busy that I really like to be in the office and, kind of keep my finger on the pulse. So really a lot of my time over the summer is in the office and spent, meeting with my supervisors, meeting with teachers who are writing curriculum and, really gearing up for the next year. And also a lot of time is spent meeting with principals and vice principals in order to plan out the whole year.
Can you, because you mentioned curriculum a couple of times, go figure as the director of curriculum. So I will ask, when you say that teachers are working on curriculum, do you revise all curriculum, writing from scratch? What is your approach to how we keep this living? And I consider curriculum to be something that's alive. What is your view on what happens to it during the summer?
Well, I agree that it is a living document. And so really throughout the whole year, we do a lot of revisions. Over the summer is when, if we're bringing any new programs in, like for example, next year, we're bringing in an elementary math program, which is new. So we are rewriting the whole curriculum K-5. And also, like if we have any new electives at the intermediate school or the high school, we're rewriting. In addition to that, with the introduction of the next gen science standards, we're rewriting our high school curriculum. But aside from that, it's really just a lot of revision because we're really proud of the solid foundation that we've set for the basis of the curriculum, and so from there we just kind of build on it.
Very cool. Susan is, she mentioned she's just started to blog. So that's a great way to reflect. And that's really the biggest part about blogging is being able to reflect on one's experiences and, share ideas and things like that.
Yeah. The biggest problem is just finding the time to sit down and write it all.
Yeah. Whether it's blogging or podcasting, it is, where do you find the time? So based on something, and because you use the word, so now I can ask questions about it. Talk about what you are planning in terms of podcasting in your.
Well, it's kind of just the seed for the idea right now.
I'll bring the manure and the water. Let's do this.
Thanks. I am actually thinking about bringing in a podcast for the district and for, kind of anybody who wants to know kind of what's going on in our district, and putting something out possibly monthly that would highlight, a current topic that we're looking at throughout the district. And then two, something that would bring a staff member in to kind of explain the why I teach hashtag, and then also looking at any upcoming or highlighting a student maybe. I'm not sure kind of what the format's going to be yet, but I definitely know that the why I teach part, I know that I want that to be a part of it. But then also the conversation between me and possibly another person about a specific topic that we've been either reading about or talking about throughout the district could possibly come in.
That's exciting.
It is. It's exciting and also very nerve-wracking at the same time.
What's nerve-wracking about this? This is easy.
Sure.
Well, okay, I won't lie to you. It's hard if the first time you sit down to do it, you're alone. Who am I talking to? As I've said a couple times, I had to tape up a picture and talk to a picture the first time I did this.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm thinking about bringing a co-host in, for lack of a better term. So
That's a great.
We'll see.
No, that's exciting. And my ears also perk up when I hear education and getting students involved. So having the student voice on there, I know that's very big right now to have students sharing and the intended audience of your district's community. And, I guess the byproduct is the whole world can find out what's going on in the district and hear about all the great things that are happening. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Well, I'll put it out there. I will help you and support you in any way that I can.
Thanks.
Huge thank you to Jill once again. Now, as I said in that conversation, actually, it got cut out because the audio for some reason got really, really bad after we're at the cut point where I made where I ended this, what you just heard, for 15 or so minutes. I will definitely have Jill. I will have you on in a future episode, of course, a full on something more that you were prepared for. But I do thank you for taking the time, on a Tuesday night after school was over to have a conversation about summer learning. And it's always great to talk to Jill Dobrowansky. So thank you, Jill. And I look forward to talking to you and seeing you this summer. And now we're almost done. But first, the House of EdTech VIP. Congratulations to Mark Barnes. Mark Barnes is a teacher, author, speaker, and publisher of the Hack Learning book series, and he's a podcaster. That's right, there is a Hack Learning podcast. By the way, it's also a member of the Education Podcast Network. Mark is a lifelong educator, best-selling author, and he's the founder of the Times 10 publications, and of course he's the creator of the Hack Learning book series. Mark is the author of 6 education books, including Assessment 3.0, Role Reversal, a 2013 Best Professional Book Selection, and he's also written 2 books in Corwin's Connected Educator series. Mark co-authored Hack Learning's flagship book, Hack Education, 10 Quick Fixes for Every School, and Mark also owns and operates Brilliant or Insane, a Teach 100 Top 25 education blog. Mark is also a popular keynote presenter and education speaker. Of course, because he's a VIP, you need to connect with Mark if you are not already connected. He's on Twitter. He is at MarkBarnes19, and that's MarkBarnes19. And you can also check out his websites, hacklearning.org. And please subscribe to his podcast, which can be found at hacklearningpodcast.com. And congratulations, Mark. You are a House of EdTech VIP. Now, I just paused because normally I would insert the music, but there is no music in this episode. It's been me for however many minutes this is so far. But I do want to thank you and say that that's going to do it for this episode of the House of EdTech. Thank you again to this episode's sponsor, summerpd.com. Thank you for your support. And again, go to summerpd.com and use the promo code House of EdTech, all smushed together, one word, and you can save $10 and get 10 PD courses for $25. Keep the conversation going and visit my website. To get all the show notes for this episode, you're going to go to chrisnessy.com/64, and the show notes for this episode will contain all the links and information that I shared today. I would love to connect with you and hear your thoughts on the information and resources shared in this and every episode. So if you're listening to this after the fact, within the immediate release period, that's cool. Send me some feedback if you just discovered this podcast. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you learned. I want to know what value you got from this episode. Over on chrisnessy.com, you're going to go and click Share Feedback. That's going to give you my email and all the ways to connect with me, the fastest of which is Twitter. I am at Mr. Nessy, MRNESI, and just use the hashtag House of EdTech. Now, if you enjoy the House of EdTech, first thing, go tell somebody. Word of mouth is the best way to share great podcasts you love, this or anyone that you listen to. Number 2, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. Your rating and honest review will help keep the House of EdTech front and center for others to discover and enjoy. And you too can show your support through patreon.com. Go to chrisnessy.com/awesome and you can find out how you can be an awesome supporter of the show. The next episode of the House of EdTech, number 65, is going to be released on July 17th, 2016. I may have an awesome co-host lined up, Derek Larson. I'm just going to throw that out there. And that show is going to come to you 2 weeks from today. See, that dates it. So, number 60. Yeah, I'm really having a good time here, just talking with my hands in the garage as I stare at all the extra pieces of wood and my tools. So, I apologize for not being as focused as maybe I should have been. But thanks for sticking with this episode. And again, 65 will come out on July 17th. So, until next time, hopefully I get the studio put back together and life is good, life is normal, we get music, and we just do what we do as we normally do it. So, thanks for joining me, and remember, using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try. The House of EdTech is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. The Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. For more great content, like the Hack Learning Podcast, go to edupodcastnetwork.com.